Hello, here for another Holistic Creative Chat, and this week we have Stephanie Gagos, artist, teacher, and healing guide. I'm so happy to have you here, Stephanie. Thank you.
I'm happy to be here.
So how I like to begin is to just ask you what your creative practice is looking like right now.
It's funny because I wish I could tell you that I paint every day or I write every day, but that's not how it works over here. Actually, I work in spurts. So sometimes I'll spend a lot of time painting. Some days I'll spend a lot of time writing, like I was just creating a course. So most of my time has been developing curriculum. So there hasn't been much painting going on. And so that's kind of how my brain works. I work in spurts, and there are times where I'm just percolating and I'm kind of wandering and, not doing anything, it seems,
Yeah, absolutely.
but kind of gearing up to the
Mm-hmm.
next phase.
Mm-hmm. And I love that you said percolating too, because I think of it that way all the time. It's like even when we can't see what's cooking, when it's not like right there, maybe we can't smell it, like there's something in there that's
Yeah.
simmering and that's brewing, and it all kind of gels when we come back then to those points of immersion where we find ourselves like flowing into our creative process, whether it's through an actual visual art, or like you said, like writing, or even course
Mhm.
creation is an incredibly creative process. I find that
Right.
too, and I love it, as much as the other
Mhm.
things. So
Right.
yeah, very cool. So what are some current themes that maybe you're noticing in your creative process and practice right now?
Well, it depends on which creative process.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk about painting.
Okay.
Uh, for me, there seems to be this like want or need or longing to go into an edge, like be a little bit more edgy. My painting so far are very rooted in spirituality and groundedness and the light.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's been this part of me that's like wants to explore the dark a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even painting a little bit of a creepy painting here and there, and not, so that there's some balance,
Mm-hmm.
and so that I'm also taking care of those parts of me that are in the dark. And I'm
Yeah.
not like I'm willing to explore that. I'm excited about that. And so that's kind of where I am right now. I'm in a really big discovery place. Like I'm kind of going into the next place with my paintings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not quite sure where I'm going yet, but I know it's different.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of allowing it to just, flow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Just
those are the juicy places I find, like kind of those places we feel like when we allow ourselves to step, past our comfort zone with it, essentially. And I love what you're saying there, that your willingness to explore that, kind of dark side, that darkness. What does that mean for you, and how does that energy, as I see it as a creative energy, how does it move through you and show up in your painting? And I find for me in the painting process that can often be the first place where I begin to face certain things before there's words, or before I'm making the connections even, the things
right,
will start to surface. And it's later, like oftentimes years later down the
right.
road, that I start to see how that was like the seeds or the beginning of the rising of certain things that I was going to then be working with consciously, so.
That's so amazing. I'm finding that I'm seeing paintings that I did 2 years ago that are now speaking to me
Mm-hmm.
in a different way, and I'm realizing why I went there.
Yeah.
And so it's a conversation,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
a beautiful sacred conversation. And that's why I approach painting with this kind of openness of like, I don't know what's going to come through, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm open to whatever comes through. I never really have a plan
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
I rarely even work from references because
Yeah.
that to me is too structured.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested in what wants to come through me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
and right now the dark is calling to me. So it's just fun.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, what's going to pull up there? And I'm
Mhm.
going to go ahead and make like kind of a leap from that. I don't think it's a leap at all, to be perfectly honest, but I'm going to say it's a leap. I'm going to make a leap from that to how I guess I kind of see the work that you've done with women online too around healing is that, and you very outspokenly or verbally use that language that you're working with women and childhood wounds healing, those sorts of things, those dark things, those things that we don't always want to talk about, don't always want to face. But you're somebody who very consciously says, hey, let's do this, I'm going to do this with you, and let's go into that dark, and let's see what happens.
Mhm.
And so I really see a parallel there for you, that's in your process, but also in the way you show up with people and what you offer. And do you find that with your writing too, like writing and course creation, that there's kind of a dark period?
Mm. Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, with writing especially, I feel that I can really go into that place. And I love that correlation you just made. I never even like put those two things together, but
Mm.
I guess because maybe I don't see the childhood wounding topic as dark.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's gonna sound really weird to a
Not
lot
to
of
me.
people.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
I feel there is such richness in it. There is such opportunity for healing in it that I find it to be light work,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. And isn't that, and that, I love that you said that, because that's when, like, if we were to sit down, I was to talk to you about how I really viewed that kind of stuff too. And both you and I come from a childhood that has abuse and really not very pretty things.
Hmm.
And so if we were to sit down and chat about that, I would say the exact same thing you did about it, that it's not really this dark place, that
Hmm.
you get to a point where it doesn't feel that way anymore, and then
Yeah.
it really is about light work. But there's a point of transformation of perspective about that,
Yes, yes,
I think.
absolutely. And I think it's so like that's one of the things that I honor in the women that I work with
Yeah.
is wherever they are, that's where they are. And I was in the place of like, oh my God, this was so horrible, and I was, in so much pain, and um I needed to transition from that place to
Yeah.
where I am now, but that takes time, that takes a
Yeah.
lot of healing work to change that perspective. So I never try to put that on anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was, this is a good thing, it's part of
Yeah.
your, like,
You can't
no,
put that on anyone. Quite frankly,
no,
they'll be like, yeah, F you. Like,
exactly, and I
right?
wouldn't blame them.
Right? Yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
there's a quote that I found once. Oh gosh, and I don't remember who it was, and I'm gonna slaughter it. But the gist of it was that that we can't always offer insight to people. If we offer insight to people too soon, that it's violating. And
Absolutely.
I see that I see the truth in that in all the work I've done with witnessing and holding space with people through healing too. And that's what I hear in what you're saying as well, is that the gist of it is meeting the people we're working with where they're at.
Right.
And when we come from a similar experience, I think that we have an expanded ability to do that.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I make it clear that I don't believe in like that, spiritual bypassing,
Yeah.
or, being with someone and jumping the, trying
Mm-hmm.
to make them leap into some other place. The truth is it sucked, and
Yeah.
we and we
Yeah.
can be in that because I know I've been in that, and I can sit with someone in that place of like
Yeah.
this was horrific,
Mm-hmm.
and shed the tears for that, and also hold them to the light, hold
Yeah.
them to the highest vision of who I see. I don't see them as wounded at all, actually. I
Yeah.
see I
Yep.
see the highest vision for them. So it's quite a balance to be able to do that, to sit with someone and be in the yuck and the ick
Yes.
and the horrible place, and also hold that vision
Mm-hmm.
of,
I love that. We're speaking about some of my favorite stuff here. I mean, this is the
yeah.
paradox work of it. It's really, in the yuck and the muck and the mess of it, that is
Mhm.
also what is composted into the soil for new seeds.
Right.
That dark
Mhm.
place is also where we have then the ability to sit with someone and hold space and shed tears with them, and also say, and look over here with me, right over there is
Right.
this little place. this little speck of light here, and I've
Mm-hmm.
been there. But
Mm-hmm.
right now I'm here with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
And I come in and out of that place. Like
Yes.
let's be truthful.
Yes.
I can go into the dark place very easily. It is my former what is it, MO.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dark can beckon me at any
Yeah.
moment and I can go into that place of wounding,
Yeah.
deep wounding. It's the little girl is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so the beauty is that I do have that other perspective that I don't always have to be in this place,
Yeah.
that there is another place.
Mm-hmm. And
There is the light
yeah.
and life force energy.
And even like I found so much comfort in the last few years of my life just in that phrase, this too shall pass. I mean, when we realize that it's this spiral, that even though we come back around to those places, we're coming with some new perspective each time.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and having circled there many times before, we know that we will come out again.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
gosh, Stephanie, I just think that's good stuff.
It is good stuff. It is. I love it. I love my heart's work. That's my heart.
Yeah.
I'm not rich from that work, but I'm rich in so many other ways.
Yes.
It really feeds me.
Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about your sense of the connection, maybe even just in a personal story again, your sense of connection between your creative process and your healing process.
Mm. For me, it's like food, you know?
Yeah.
Like it is what brings me out of the darkness.
Yeah.
Like even just writing from the perspective of where I want to be, my vision for where I want to be, let's say I write, a narrative. Um that is healing for me. Like that the work heals me. So the
Yeah.
painting heals me. The writing heals me. All of it is so integral to my healing part. Without it, I don't know where I would be
Yeah.
after the childhood that that I had. I,
Yeah.
I really don't know where I would be without it's my lifeline, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the way that I get to know myself more. It is the way I commune with my higher self. It is my connection to spirit. It is everything.
Yeah. Mm. I hear you, sister. Ah. Okay, so the question I ask everybody then is, how do you define healing today?
Mm, 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 mm. This is one of my favorite questions, and it's funny because I've written a few blog posts on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have what is healing from 2010,
Mm-hmm.
and then 2 years later I start to redefine it again. So it's
Yeah.
almost like it's something that evolves, and that I redefine as I go along. But right now the healing is really about coming back to the truth of who I am underneath the story of having an abusive mom, underneath the story of being molested. Who am I? Who did I come into the world as? That pure life force, that yes energy that I talk so much about. That's who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
So the healing work that I do is about always coming back to the truth of who I am,
Yeah.
um, and reclaiming the parts of me that were perhaps lost or buried in the chaos that
Mm-hmm.
was my childhood. And so even things like I recently recorded a song with a friend of mine,
Mm.
and when I was younger, I used to sing, but I didn't have that encouragement. I didn't have that, like, parent to help me pursue it or anything like that. So that little piece of being able to do this now at 45 years old is part of my healing. So that's a piece that I'm reclaiming for myself. When I was younger, I wasn't good at painting. My best friend was really good at it, and the art teacher would like pass me by, kind of like, "Oh, okay," and then keep going. And so that's a piece of me that I've
Mm-hmm.
taken back big time, I think, because now I make a part of my living is through selling my paintings. So it's
Sure.
like that to me is the healing where I'm coming back to the truth of who I am and I'm reclaiming my life force and all the
Mm-hmm.
pieces that I may have lost or thought I lost, but I didn't.
Yeah, I love that. It's almost like There's so many layers there. It goes even what you said about story, and who you are underneath that story. You know, it goes back to that percolating idea, that essence of who you are that's kind of always there, that's always cooking, and peeling back those layers, or just letting go of those things that we associate, that we often attach to our identity, that actually come from other people in that story. Letting go of those things and saying, no, here I am, this is it, this is me. And there, in that, you're also rewriting your story.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so, and like you said, it's so many layers, there's story upon story that, and
Yeah.
deep rooted things that still come up, but it's just I just keep coming back, and I keep showing up for myself and showing up for others. And I do honor my story. That was part of my healing for a long time, is honoring the truth of my story and telling my story. And that was a big deal for me for a long time. And now I don't feel the need to tell it as much.
I understand that
you
myself.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm more into the reclaiming piece and standing in my power and taking back what was buried.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh, so Stephanie, you are also one of the 24 guest contributors for Spectrum
Yay!
2015. I'm so glad you joined us this year. And you are bringing to the workshop an offering called A Call to Art and Healing, Reclaiming the Lost Child Through the Power of Yes. So I love that. That
Yeah.
sounds so good. So thank you. And is there anything else that you would like to mention? I'm going to, of course, put a link to your website right beneath this video, but anything else you'd like to mention coming up, or that you'd want anybody to know? Or
No,
what's happening?
well, I'm in the midst of facilitating the Journey of Yes, the business edition,
Yeah.
and that's my first time running that version of it. And so I'll probably be running another one later in the year. So look out for that. These courses are really powerful.
Very good. All right. All right. Thank you, Stephanie, again. And thank you, everybody, for listening in.
Thank you. Bye.